Hello.
Hello, hello. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good myself. So to kind of like get this sort of started, I believe it would be best for us to take a look at your gameplay a little bit in terms of the training range, and then also a quick tracker review. And then we move into the more specific things that come into reviewing your gameplay. So when you told me earlier you wanted to spend a couple weeks first learning how to like play the game a little bit more before you get coaching, I think that's maybe you're thinking about coaching from the wrong direction. Coaching has different phases for different players. If I'm coaching someone who's a Immortal Plus player and he's looking for improvements, what I'm going to be focusing on in a VOD review is going to be the very minute things, the very like specific like tendencies that they have that changes how they approach a situation. Since you're at a lower rank right now and you're just getting started, coaching would probably be more focused on the direction that you go with how you train, how you set yourself up for like best fundamentals, and then a bigger picture idea of understanding Valorant like from a more holistic perspective.
I see.
If you want to send me your tracker link.
I'm so sorry, but I actually don't have tracker yet.
You don't have tracker yet?
Authorize. Okay, it should be active now.
Okay. I think tracker is very valuable in general. There's a lot of data, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it's also a big part of the story. Things to improve on. For example, things like headshot percentages, damage delta, and stuff like that. They kind of give you an idea of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
So I think I
Okay.
just activated my tracker.
Yep, I could see it.
I was kind of self-conscious to do this because for like the last month, I've been spending a lot of time making YouTube videos, and I feel like I haven't grinded many hours. So
it's all good. I mean, it is the balance of life that you have to have while doing content creation. I know you said you're a little bit self-conscious about like your stats and stuff because you haven't been able to put in the practice that you might want to, but I think it's a side of vulnerability that you have to open up to yourself too. You have to be willing to kind of like face your own demons in some sense, understand your strengths and weaknesses before you can overcome them.
Right. Okay. Understood.
So looking at your stats right now, you are losing more than you're winning, and that's perfectly fine, especially because you're just starting out and you're throwing yourself into a competitive environment. But there are some things that like I can tell very quickly that you might want to improve on. Your headshot percentage is exceptionally low. High headshot percentage isn't a good thing. Low headshot percentage isn't a good thing. A good headshot percentage is around 20 to 24% in order to kind of be like a balanced player. If you are someone with low headshot percentage, you're probably spamming the body too often. You're still kind of low rank. It's perfectly normal. However, there's people who have very high headshot percentage. If you have too high of a headshot percentage, then it means you're aiming too much for the head. And if you're aiming too much for the head, you're probably not being very practical with your fights, which means there are times where you could have shot at the body and killed someone, but you chose to shoot at the head instead. As a result, you're not actually getting the most out of your current set of skills.
That makes sense.
Right now, as a new player, generally new players are more practical about things, which is why your current headshot percentage is very low. But as you improve, you're going to want to start focusing a little bit more on trying to find the balance between practical and ideal gameplay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you focus on one agent. I always tell people like focus on one agent because you don't know how much you don't know until you learn one agent fully. I think of it like this. You level up with each agent. Well, let's just say there's like 5 levels. You're level 2 with all agents, then the only thing you really know about is up to level 2. But if you're level 5 with one agent, Yoru, and you're level 1 with a lot of other agents, you look at your level 1 agents and you can say, oh, I'm not good at this agent because I don't have the knowledge to do these things that normally I would be able to do with my agent that I'm at level 5 with.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you really enjoy Yoru, stick to Yoru, but Yoru is one of the hard agents along with agents like Viper, Sky. Those agents are very hard to play, which means that if you're trying to improve your mechanics and fundamentals, you're basically adding another layer of difficulty into that.
Is there like a particular agent that you would recommend for me to pick up aside from Yoru?
If you want to have a very basic agent, my suggestion is either Reyna, which is like a very cop-out answer. Most people would just say Reyna is a very simple agent. And actually, in my opinion, one agent that I've been thinking recently that could actually be extremely helpful for new players, I actually think ISO might be better than Reina in learning how to play as a new player. I think ISO rewards you for proper fundamentals. You put a shield on and you have 12 seconds to use that shield, and then otherwise it's gone. And then if you kill someone, you get another shield if you hit the orb, and then you have a push wall and whatever. Good for someone trying to learn how to take advantage of their utility and also understand how the balance between going too deep and not going deep enough. When you have your shield up, you want to take fights. The second thing is you get rewarded for isolating fights because you get a shield that you can break. So if you are able to isolate a fight for yourself, you get another shield. That means extra practice. You want to be focusing on your mechanics and fundamentals, and then you can focus on the other things. So the reason why Yoru doesn't quite fit into this is because Yoru has too many things that break fundamentals. TP that in some logic, gimmicky. A flash that in some logic is gimmicky, because it's punishing people for looking at you. Kit is filled with fundamental breaking abilities, but you see players like Eggster or like Cody or like Who Framed Me. The reason why they're so good with Yoru is because their fundamentals are extremely good already, and then they use Yoru and they can handle the chaos that Yoru brings into the game.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
All right.
Yoru is definitely the agent that I want to main eventually. If it takes away from learning the fundamentals, I'm willing to put aside Yoru for a little while. I do find his kit the most interesting and I guess fun to play with. But in terms of improving, I'm thinking of ISO right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I personally recommend ISO. I think ISO is a very good fundamentals-based agent. But like I've been maining ISO and I've been seeing a lot of success in ranked, playing against really good players, against like Shazam and like other players like that who are at the top of their game, and I'm like crushing it. Because my fundamentals, in my opinion, are my strongest point.
What you're saying makes sense. It's at the end of the day, it's a tactical shooter game.
You just need to work on your fundamentals at the very baseline right now, and that's not anything new because you're bronze, right? You're still new to the game. Congrats on bronze, by the way. I saw you ranked up, so you're doing fine. But of course, the fastest path to improvement from this point here is definitely at the baseline, working on that foundation of mechanics and movement and duels and stuff like that.
Okay, understood.
I'll share you my screen as well so that you can kind of see what's going on. What I'm going to be showing you right now is testing that I do with like every person I've taught in the past.
Okay.
It's a very quick and easy way to set yourself at like a baseline. But what I want you to do is basically you have your crosshair over a target, and then I want you to strafe around and try to keep your crosshair on that target. Let's try it. Let's try moving. So from what I see right now, your sensitivity is too low.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to increase it a little bit. What's your DPI?
1600.
1600 point. Well, actually, okay, that's actually relatively normal. 800 at 0.24. It's on the lower end still. I suggest increasing that by a couple points. So let me just explain to you why though. If I were to be trying to trace a target, your movement affects your aim. If I'm moving, I'm aiming. And that means if I want to keep my crosshair on one point, I have to counteract the movement's effect with my aim. However, if your sensitivity is not something you can control well enough, there's two outcomes that can happen. First, you have too low of a sensitivity, which means you're constantly going to be trying to kind of adjust onto the target.
Yeah,
basically.
That's what kind of looks like.
Yeah, that's what you were doing. People who have too high of a sense, they're overdoing it and they're letting their movement have to like finish the movement for them. In an ideal world, you're able to just keep it on the target. So for you, it's still like slightly on the lower side, but I think it's a little bit better now. Maybe if you want to just keep it right there, or maybe do like 0.15. I mean, honestly, it's not bad. You're doing a lot less of the catching up part. The other thing I want to see you do, like, so how comfortably can you do this kind of like, you know, strafe around and like tap targets? The goal is you need to be comfortable just moving around and taking fights while strafing around.
The fastest I can go is, I would say, it's more like,
okay,
yeah, it kind of sucks.
I think one thing I do notice immediately though is that your movement itself is slightly jiggly and it's not precise. It's something that you might want to start practicing a little bit more, is the way you stop your movement. If I'm swinging out and then I'm stopping, I want to be able to like stop on the target, or at least like stop where I feel like I'm ready to stop. What you're kind of currently doing is you're doing a little bit like this. Like you're stopping, but you're also like jiggling back a little bit.
I
like
see.
That. Yeah, so just try to like keep on practicing that part of the movement for now. Your goal eventually is to be able to chain together that movement into very minuscule wait times.
So I would add this drill to my practice.
I think for the sake of time, maybe we just go straight to VOD review on your gameplay. The goal is to become, as a player starting out, is to master your mechanics as quickly as possible. If you don't have the adequate mechanics, then you're going to struggle, and like it's your foundation. This is your physique right now.
Sorry, this session is taking longer than you might have.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's get to the review on this a little bit. But what I usually do with VOD reviews is I actually don't like to watch the whole game. Most good coaches can see what you're struggling with and see what you're good at probably within a few rounds. We'll kind of look at the pistol round and maybe look at like two gun rounds and we'll go from there. Okay, so putting a TP on the back while jiggling. Something minuscule is just that you're kind of jiggling this without the intention of even taking a fight. It's like you're not trying to do that, because if you jiggle and you don't even give yourself a fighting chance to take a fight and you TP out, where are you going to be?
On the other side of the map.
Yeah, exactly. And that means your whole site is free for them to take. Yoru players want to be more committal with like a fight before getting out. Something to keep in mind is that like while your teammates are fighting right here, you should also be ready to kind of take the fight as well, right? After you get flashed, they know you're here. Sure, if they're fighting, you could honestly just swing out and take a fight again.
Okay.
If the Gecko's really good at the game, maybe he'll be sitting back here and just holding for windows specifically, but you are in a lower rank, so I think the right fundamental play is to swing out and help your teammate. So it's always a good idea to kind of think about your teammates and what they're doing in relation to how you can take advantage of them.
Understood.
Let's skip to a later round. Yeah, so once again, you're doing this kind of jiggle. Like someone swings you right now out the window, you probably wouldn't have even been able to take a shot. And if you did take a shot, you'd be shooting at their foot, right? Something that I generally suggest, that you want to maintain head level. You want to practice putting your crosshair at head level wherever you go.
Okay.
So like your crosshair's kind of like in the middle of nowhere right here, right? You're just kind of staring in the middle of that stage wall. So your crosshair placement wants to be in an area where you think the engagement's going to happen. Another thing for me to note is the conversation we had about Yoru. If you're playing Yoru in this situation, there's so many different ways you could have approached that. A lot of them could be good enough. Maybe some of them might not be that great. You have so many variations and a lot of different executions of that situation. Your teammate's right here. Right, the enemies are swinging out from long, right? You put a decoy right here, and then you like ran up and like you took the fight and then try to kill someone right here. So that's like an okay play. What a good Yoru could have done is also, you know, threw this thing here, threw a flash on this side right here, swing out wide, flash again, swing again, right? In one swift motion, you can like clear out a whole site. Or you could have also done something like maybe like decoy this way, flash this angle, right? Someone swings out, hits a decoy, then you swing out, take the fight, and then TP out. Or the amount of variations in that situation is way too much for any player to really like think about when they're still starting off at the game. For you right now, you probably wouldn't have thought of these different outcomes and different plays. You kind of thought of, okay, I'm gonna put a decoy down, I'm gonna just like swing out and like, you know, try to shoot these guys.
Exactly.
Right. As a Yoru player, you have a very high ceiling on all the cool things you could do. Right. Now, let's just say, you know, I was an ISO player. This situation right here, your teammates fighting from this side, these guys are swinging out. Your job is to just put your shield up, swing out, and just fight them. And then like take the fights and like isolate your ones. This is your optimal play. And in most cases, without utility, this is your optimal play. Maybe you push wall and then you swing out. You don't have a lot of different variations of how you throw your flash, how you throw your wall, how you pop your shield. It's very standard. I'm going to give myself a shield. I'm going to take these fights now. I'm going to make sure I focus on getting my one, because if I get my one, I get a shield. I get another one. My teammates are fighting right now. I can swing again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like you could technically use any agent in low elo and probably climb your way out. But like which one's going to give you more improvement? The one where you just threw a bunch of random flashes and then, you know, somehow came out on top and killed a guy? Or the one where it's like you just like chose your best option. You ran out, you took a fight, you know, killed a guy and then killed another guy.
Yeah, I think I need to stop playing Yoru to build my fundamentals first.
I do think that is the best play, but you never know what your viewers are thinking. Maybe they really like to see you play Yoru. Take a look at round after this. You're aiming kind of low in this case. You took 2 shots. Okay. Yeah, so you're kind of aiming at like at stomach level, right? Oh, that's a nice shot. Oh, wait, those are nice shots. So your bursts are really good. The first shot was really good. It's not like super clean in the fact that your shooting itself is a little bit sprayy, but not really a spray, but also a burst, but not really like resetting properly. But the aim adjustments was really nice. What your movement leading up to this looked like was you were unintentionally putting yourself into this position and you reacted well.
Right, exactly.
But given 10 situations like this, the outcome can vary greatly, because you didn't know why you did the things you did leading up to this point, and therefore the reaction itself, regardless of the outcome, is hard for you to judge and hard for you to replicate. You're reacting to your teammates going in. These reactions are good, right? The shots are good. So if you put yourself in the right situation, you might be able to hit some really nasty shots right now. Your aim might already be like, you know, pretty pretty good for your rank. The first step to building the ability to have a game plan is to notice your surroundings and be aware of what's happening around you. You can do that by going into like death matches. You're listening to where people are swinging from. You try to position yourself to take a fight with them. You want to like be able to react properly to their swings. So I think there's two different approaches that you can kind of make. I'm going to go into a death match really quickly, and I'm going to show you what I mean. What I said about intentional and reactive is that this applies to how you approach putting yourself into the right spots, because both of them kind of play into each other. You're always going to have to react to things because you're not playing a single player game. You can't prepare for every single thing that happens, and you can't read what the enemy is going to do with 100% certainty. At the same time, you want to be intentional with the kind of things you put yourself in. So there's two approaches. One approach is you try not to do things unless you have an intentional reason behind why you do it. This is like trying to be aware, right? Like, and like, you know, be aware of like what you're trying to do at each exact moment, right? Like, oh, I'm trying to like, you know, peek this angle right here. So I'm going to like swing it. I'm going to try to peek this angle right here. This is like kind of like you being intentional with your decision making and you not moving unless you have a reason to move. This is one side of building up the awareness. The other side of it though, and this is an approach that I think is also extremely effective. Without structured learning, this is probably the more effective way. It's kind of like the street ball way of doing things, which is you just kind of like see what sticks, right? You just kind of go at things, right? And like learn through like learn through like iteration, constantly putting yourself in weird spots and like seeing what sticks, seeing what works. What I mean by that is that you're constantly on the move. Literally, I'm going to be moving, running around like nonstop until I see an enemy and then try to react, right? So it's like right here, I'm running around like constantly looking for fights, and I might get shot in the side of the head or whatever, but my reactions will happen as I'm kind of consciously executing on the fact that I have no intention other than just run around and chase things.
Is it more like getting conditioned into the right movements as you're like kind of throwing everything?
It's like you're conditioning yourself to just being able to like move very fast and move very efficiently. I'm just running around and just like trying to chase fights. But I'm at the same time also trying to be intentional when I take the fight, but I'm reacting to like the fight happening. I might know where the enemy is like going to come from, but sometimes I'm going to be like not prepared, or like someone's like hiding or something. Like I'm going to try to readjust and take that fight, but I'm almost always just running around and like trying to continually make movements and continually, I guess, travel the map in some sense. This is like another really good way to practice because you're trying to just like control your movements more naturally. And I think it's building your physique and movement in like the same analogy. If I'm trying to swing an enemy and I know he's in this corner, technically all I have to do is just like take this peek and kill him, right? But the things that lead up to it is like, you know, me making the proper preparation for it, me understanding where he is in that corner. You can't really practice unless you're like extremely intentional about it. And being extremely intentional about it is, in my opinion, very hard to do in a very consistent environment. You can't expect all these outcomes to always go the way that you want it to, which means it's better for you to try to learn to deal with the reactiveness by becoming really good at reacting.
So within the process of just purely reacting to running around and what's happening around you, would you say that you'd be able to condition yourself to be more conscious about the movement or the decision that you're making in that process?
So the result of you doing full reactive is that it sets you into a system that lets you practice your movement more often and almost build your execution of your movements in a non-intentional way. If I'm in construction, I'm going to have big muscles probably. Right. Why do I have big muscles? Well, it wasn't because I went to the gym. I didn't go to the gym for the big muscles. It's because I work a construction job and I have to make ends meet. So now I have big muscles as a result of me doing that. In this case, I'm swinging around. I'm like kind of like falling into this and letting the systems around me shape how I improve. I consciously decided I'm going to enter construction because maybe part of me also wants to have a fit, healthy body. It happens as a result. Now, comparing that to intentionally going to the gym, there's two different approaches to that. One's not necessarily way better than the other, especially if like you don't know what you can do at the gym at the moment, or you don't know what your goal is at the gym. When you kind of run around and just shoot at things, you're building up that movement without necessarily putting yourself into a spot that's like, I have to practice my movement with these specific drills. Like
And what you're saying is the former approach of like lifting weights intentionally is difficult because, first of all, you don't really know what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Unless you have like someone who's literally just like breathing down your neck, telling you exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
For you, I think the side that gets you the most experience is to just run it down in a deathmatch and just run around and swing things and like just constantly be moving. It's similar to the kind of training range thing that I was talking about. It's like your goal is to be able to move around fast and kind of just like shoot at one thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
The other step is you want to be intentional with using that tool, which is I only peak these things because I think this is where I should be peaking. Then your practice doing things like very quickly and just kind of like reactively will become relevant.
Would you say the same thing about playing ranked as well? Like doing more, I guess, sort of a, I don't know, like a reckless play, seeing what sticks and trying to see in hindsight or getting conditioned into making the right moves because I don't know what really sticks or the right way to, to lift weights, or if I don't know why I'm moving, should I just keep moving anyways and see what sticks?
I actually think this is a very interesting and good segue into the thing I want to leave you with today, because we are nearing 2-ish hours already. In my view, running it down in ranked and just like taking fights and just seeing what sticks and trying things out is the best way to improve. As scary as that sounds to like the general Valorant community, because it's as if I'm like promoting someone just griefing and just like playing really dumb. The truth is, at the end of the day, your goal as a player is to improve yourself. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to learn more. That means limit testing yourself and trying things out and seeing how far you could push your abilities. Will that lead to a win? Sometimes no. However, I also think that there's a very important analogy. If I'm a 20-year-old guy who's okay at basketball, and I go up against a 12-year-old kid who's really good at basketball, who's going to win?
You, obviously, because of the sheer difference in physique and height.
Exactly. Right. I tower over this kid. I'm just going to dunk on him, right? He can't do anything against me because a lot of his options are gone simply because his physical limitations. In Valorant, you're not biologically gated, which means if you can train your aim and your movement to a high enough level, and you can train the foundation of your physique to a high enough level, you're essentially a 20-year-old playing against 12-year-olds. And what's the best way to beat a 12-year-old as a 20-year-old basketball player? I have to make sure it's basketball player. Like, we're not beating up a 12-year-old. But like, do you have to even outplay them? I could probably dribble and run faster than they can catch up with. Why do I have to go through the mental hoops of playing smart, playing in some sense bronze smart? I can just run up to the hoop and dunk it on them. They can't do a single thing to me. I just have to run up right next to them, and whatever they try to do, I'm just going to block it right out of the air. That's your aim. That's your mechanics. That physical difference is huge. And the more you find ways to give yourself a system that lets you improve on that specifically, the faster you're going to see yourself climb up the ranks. Because at the end of the day, it is an FPS game, right? Your goal is to shoot the enemy before they shoot you. You kill that guy, it doesn't matter how cool his play was going to be. It doesn't matter how good of a Yoru player he was. If he didn't kill you, if you swung him before he can use all his util on you and you killed him, then his round is over.
Yeah, I can just out-peek him, out-aim him, and just kill him, clicks his head and he's dead.
Exactly. And there's nothing he can do about it. And this is why people hate like Smurfs, right? If you're like an immortal player just going down to silver, you're just like running it down on everyone as a Reyna. They can't do anything because even though technically they're taking a fight that they're comfortable with, the other person just is way better. You know, the harsh truth of ranking up. But it's also a very good thing to understand because that means you can climb up very, very fast as long as you focus on the right things.
Do you think, sorry, we're going already too long, but I just have one more question.
Fine.
Do you think if I were to play without intention in ranked gaming, if I were to just spam ranked games, even though it's not optimal, would I still build the intuition and the knowledge and I guess the game sense to eventually find out what the right move is or like...
Okay. So that's also another thing that I want to say. If we jump back to that analogy, right? The 12-year-old versus a 20-year-old. If I'm a 20-year-old, I can just out dribble the 12-year-old and shoot wherever I want and then basically just like out physique him, right, and win. But can I do that against an 18-year-old?
Probably not. I'm
Probably
guessing.
not as much, right? I can maybe out physique him in some cases, but in most cases, I have a slight advantage over you. And if we think about that in Valorant, it's like in an aim duel, I have a 60% chance of winning against you. But if you were to find a cool way to outplay me a little bit, that goes from a 60-40 to like a 45-55, right? Like you suddenly have an advantage as long as you find a small thing to like beat me with. Essentially, the rank that you're playing in right now, in Iron or in Bronze or in Silver, the things that you learn, the ways that you understand game sense, is always going to be different from what you learn when you reach a higher rank. When you eventually reach Diamond or Ascendant or Immortal, the way people play is going to be fundamentally different. There's going to be a different pace at which they take sites. There's going to be a different like speed at which they kill you. There's going to be a different speed at which fights get resolved, which means team play is going to have to function differently. If you're playing in the NBA, you're passing around and you're like, you're making a play, the speed at which that play is being made is too fast for someone who's younger to understand. Or they can understand it, but they can't keep up with it. So in those cases, if you don't have the proper physique, you can't even learn how to play at that level. I can be a silver player and I can't know how to play at an immortal level. I can't find how to play at an immortal level randomly just by spamming rank games, simply because the people that I'm playing against will never show me that side of the game. I'll never be able to understand it through example.
I see. So at least for now, climbing out of the low elo ranks, I should be focusing purely on the basic mechanics side of the game. And
yeah, because the more you practice your basics, the more you set yourself up for higher levels, and also the less you have to relearn. Because if I just practice my way up to the point where my physique was so good that all I had to do was outrun people from courtside and basically beat 13-year-old players, 16-year-old players, 18-year-old players, then only when I'm playing against 20-year-old players will I actually be forced to start thinking about things and start challenging my knowledge of the game.
I see.
And in that situation, I am already learning 20-year-old basketball. I didn't have to learn 13-year-old basketball. I'm learning straight up 20-year-old basketball because that's where my physique has led me to already. I have the necessary foundation to reach a higher level.
Which only then gives you the opportunity to learn.
To learn at that level. Yeah.
Right.
Right. So the most efficient way for you is to keep on hammering in those mechanics, because the better you get, the faster you climb out. The faster you climb out, the faster you get to see what the game is really about. And when you see what the game is really about, that's when you start learning about how you can outplay the game at that level.
Yeah, I think you convinced me. I think I'm an ISO main now. I think I will build my physique first, climb out of the low ranks, and then I will start maining Yoru when I have the opportunity to. Because I think playing Yoru is pretty much like trying to think about the high level stuff that I'm not even aware of. Well, I don't know anything, basically.
Exactly. And that's like, it's not wrong to like try to do it, or like you can't be shamed for doing that kind of stuff because it's fun, right? But in some cases, it's just less efficient. And I'm glad you kind of like see where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah, I think I need to focus on the basics at least for now until I get to a higher level. And then I can branch off to a more strategic side of the game.
And you'll also be able to have as little bad knowledge as possible. You don't have to rewrite your save files or how the game is understood.
I think, I will unlock ISO and start maining ISO.
Let's go. Another ISO main converted. Let's go. I mean, I say that in like a troll way, but I seriously think ISO is going to be your biggest asset when it comes to starting to learn the game.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with the knowledge that you have now and the understanding of the approach. The more you train your mechanics, you're going to see yourself improve really fast.
Okay, understood. Sorry to take up so much of your time, but I think this coaching session was extremely useful for me in terms of pointing me in the right direction. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to help. I want to see you improve. So I want to make sure that you have the best tools to get there. And I'm pretty happy that you wanted me to coach you in the first place too, because I'm sure there's like other coaches out there who would be happy to coach you as well. It's an honor from my end to be able to help someone who's new and very passionate to try to improve at the game. So feel free to message me if you have any other questions and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I
really appreciate you. I will talk to you later.
All right, peace.